Hello everybody and welcome to the Top Flight Computers Twitch live stream. We're back at our normal time of Friday. It is 7:16 and the time is 6 o'clock, 6:01. We're just a little short, or a little bit late. My co-presenter is not here today as he was feeling a little under the weather and wanted to play it a little safe with the virus that shall not be named. My name is Connor. Behind the camera over... see that over there. You should see Chris. Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself. Say hi. Yep. So Chris will be behind, monitoring all the chat and everything to that effect. I will also have it here, but I'll be a little bit delayed. You probably also noticed that we have a top cam up here, which I don't know why it's actually up right now, but it's up there. I think it's up there. Oh, that side. Oops, I pointed to the wrong side. Oh well. It is what it is. So, today, we are building rocket-powered dirt. Still, a very interesting name, made by the one and only Chris behind the camera. This system is, rocket-powered dirt is a workstation designed for various engineering suites. The customer needed a dedicated long-term workstation in order to replace his aging system and properly handle his growing professional workload. This system is going to be designed mainly for AutoCAD, Risa, SAP 2000, and Trimble Business Center. This system is mainly designed around a Intel i7 11700K. The CPU cooler is going to be a Darkrock 4 Pro by Be Quiet. That's going over there. The motherboard is going to be a Z590 AORUS Pro AX. The motherboard's actually in this one, so I'm not going to throw that one. As for memory, we have a 16 gigabyte kit of, 32 gigabyte kit of DDR4 Ripjaws 5 from GSkill. It's also going to go down there. For our storage, we have two HP 950. One in a 512 variant, one in a 1 terabyte variant as well. As for the graphics card, it is a Quadro, so it is the worst box ever created in the face of existence. There's literally no branding on it at all. It doesn't even actually say what model number it is on the box. Luckily I have it over here. It's a P&Y Quadro P2200. And as for our power supply, we have an Enermax Revolution DF, and this is in the 750 watt flavor, and it is 80 plus gold, which is awesome. So as for the case, which you guys can see here, this is the Corsair 4000D Airflow. It looks a little bit different because I have a lot of the panels underneath the table because I already went through and installed a lot of the fans. So I'm going to save you guys the bore of that one. And that leads me into what I replaced these with. So we replaced the stock fans with 3 Phanteks F120 MPs. So, I'm going to set that off to the side, and we are going to go ahead and jump on into it. As for everyone wondering, all of those boxes were empty. All of the parts are over here for the keen-eyed viewers. They are all laid out nicely. So, we're going to go ahead and jump right on into it. The reason I did not take the motherboard out is because of the anti-static, and I don't want to shock things and break them. Everything else, it is what it is. But should not have to worry about that. We do not need any SATA data cables today. We will need the standoffs for the... actually, I think the standoffs are already installed on this one, if I remember correctly. I'm going to double down on my words and hope that I'm right for the M.2s. Because I didn't see the standoffs in the motherboard box, so we're just going to hope that it's in here. And I should not talk when I'm trying to take the anti-static bag off. As I was trying to say, this system is designed around a pretty heavy CAD workload. I do not have a sharp screwdriver. Right. Stand by as I change the bit out of this. I do not have a sharp enough point for the screwdriver to actually take off the M.2 screws. Or well, I guess the heat spreaders, as Andrew would say. They're not heat shields. Or not heat sinks. Hopefully the audio's good. I have absolutely no idea. Chris, is it semi-decent? Is it noise? we messed with a few audio settings. So interesting.
I put it on top cam.
That's good. You can see it. I don't know if you guys can see this. There is a heat sink or heat pad on this side, and on the actual motherboard side as well. So it pinches the M.2 together. I assume that's for PCIe 4.0, even though Intel doesn't have 4.0, but they do, but they don't. Like that's just weird to me.
Alder Lake will.
Yeah, I just don't know why there's a double heat spreader there. Like, it seems a little excessive if you're not doing an M.2. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. Apparently that is the saying for the day. I do not know why, but it just has become the saying for the day. Oh, that clips down there. I was like, wow, that's a little professionally installed.
Yeah.
There we go. It's like going and getting your car and driving off in your wheel, just falling off halfway down the highway. That would be the equivalent of that install right there. And this is a fun fact. Most motherboards, including this one, the closer the M.2 is to the CPU, determines the actual pathing. So as if the M.2 is directly connected to the CPU, or if it's connected to the chipset, then the CPU. You want your boot drive to be as close physically and as close in the order as possible to your CPU for the fastest boot times. That's the loudest screwdriver. How many M.2s are on this board? Holy moly. There's 4. And none on the back. So yeah, there's just straight up 4. That's actually impressive. I'm surprised Intel has that many lanes dedicated to that. Yeah.
Probably a lot of them are coming off the chipset.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably a fair amount are coming off the chipset. But the reason why you want it closest to your CPU is because you get faster boot times. I do not know if I said that. It basically adds a step that you don't need. I need this top one. So if you're just doing a mass storage, then you're fine to put it basically anywhere. Mass storage M.2s. Yeah, that's common nowadays, realistically speaking. Also, if you hear some drills and things in the background, there's some construction going on. Hopefully, we mitigated a lot of that. There might be a little bit of it, but if you hear it, disregard it.
It's light.
It's part of the music. That's the story we're going with. I should pull up the chat, even though I'm not looking at it at all. But it is there. Also, if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments section. Like I said, Chris is monitoring that, so he'll create a typed up response, probably. I mean, that's what we pay him for, so I don't know, maybe. And I will try to give a verbal response if I see it first.
Although the case is blocking the entire laptop, so...
I can see through the window right here, so we're good. And the chat should also pop up here-ish, if I'm visualizing it correctly for you guys. Boom, boom. CPU. And a wise word of wisdom: whenever you have any CPU that you're installing, whether it be AMD or Intel, please double check your pins and make sure that none of them are scratched, bent, pins and pads actually, destroyed, pushed in a way that they're not supposed to be, because that will cause so much headache and heartache. Not all of those pins are used all the time, but when you have one pin missing on an AMD CPU or one pin crossing over, you'll create a short, and you're going to have a horrible time trying to diagnose that too, because
you're going to miss a RAM channel or your errors.
Gigabyte, they put 2 peels. I'm going to go back to the rant on this of the peels under the peels. I hate the peels under the peels. So aggravating. Anyway, I will digress. I will get off my soapbox on Gigabyte. Also, Gigabyte, if you're watching, please sponsor us. I love your products. Just whoever put the peels under appeals needs to be fired. Because I imagine that's just an annoying extra step. It does not need to be needed. Awesome. Alright. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah. Nice. I will say what I do love about the Intel motherboards is the I/O shields. They're pre-installed, so you don't even have to deal with it.
I think they're doing that on a lot of AMD boards as well.
You know what? This is an Intel board. What do I need, Chris?
The Intel bracket?
Yep, I need the Intel bracket. Because AMD already has it.
It's been a while, huh?
I know. I will say that is one big one-up that I love AMD for, is putting the actual bracket already installed. It saves so much headache. Intel, get all the things out. Now I need to discern. I will move this on over. Yeah, there we go. So with this board, I now need standoffs and a back plate and everything, and we have this as no markings on this. I'm going to take a guess and say it's the middle one. I'm 90% certain it's actually the middle one.
In case you don't want to RTM.
I sold so many of these. Dark Rock does a really good job of their installations. You know, they're really easy, they're quick. Ironically, the cheaper the cooler, the harder it is to actually mount. Do still need that, which is a bummer.
So what you're saying is that a $200 air cooler should come pre-installed on the motherboard.
Not necessarily. Have you seen EK Waterblock's new mono blocks for the motherboards? So good looking. I want a water-cooled motherboard so bad, but I also don't want to deal with that. That's why I strongly dislike these.
Wait, what's so?
All right, let me find that.
Voltaire and then what, you're Robert?
Oh. Did you see the Linus video about the liquid cooling system that stops leaks?
So you're Robert, not troublemaker.
It's actually amazing. Yeah, it pressurizes the system, and then when it detects a leak, it automatically depressurizes it and stops the water flow, and makes it so that literally, like, Linus took a drill and drilled through the tube, and it immediately stopped the leak. It's amazing.
Wow.
It was one of those things where I'm like, dang, that should be something we offer.
What's your role? I'm gonna go like.
Also, this is a fun fact.
Oh, don't play that video. Linus just started shouting at what?
It's very recent, like maybe a day or two old.
I can't believe it late. I'll have to.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
Oh, okay.
I know why I did that. Forgot that there's little O-rings that you're supposed to put on these.
I didn't know that part.
Oh wow.
I gotta read the letter.
Can you tell we did a lot of it?
Yeah, right? Yeah, you're supposed to do these little squeegee thingies, and then it holds it on. I say as the one that I do not have a thing on falls.
Yeah.
Well, she confirmed my role before you did, so I trust her because she knew my role with me. She did it, Robert. I mean, you broke me out because you won, but I was wrong. I can tell you that for a fact.
That's a.
Oh, what were you?
Almost all of these backplates will have some sort of rubber grommet or some sort of rubber spacer or something, because metal on the back of motherboards, which has a lot of traces and a lot of contacts, creates shorts and then creates break and then creates cry. creates sadness when things light on fire. So that's just a fun fact. If you're missing a little rubber grommet thing, something's probably wrong. And you just gotta be careful on that.
That's all I know. I don't know what you are. He is
There we
not
go.
the robber.
So much
I'm
easier.
seeing now that
I
the
can tell you I was the robber. I was going to say that I took care of it.
the audio is a little
I thought it was kind of plausible, but that doesn't make sense.
I've had a lot of
I've got it.
interference.
Yeah, I mean, we cranked it down, so it makes sense why it's low.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Tanner. Werewolf.
Hey,
Unfortunately, there's no really way to boost it either.
And somebody in this group is a Tanner.
But we already boosted it.
Did you ever say what you are?
Alright.
But Garrett, what if you use
Now,
Raleigh
let's
to
try this
use
again.
both werewolves?
Between both of them?
Yeah.
Well, why did you say that? He said he was the Tanner.
Still in
The
frame.
Tanner wants to
Yeah.
get voted out.
Kind
No,
of.
I was part of
Alright. Now let's try to install this.
So if she is the werewolf, she would want to claim Tanner. Yeah, because nobody would vote for you if
There we
you
go.
were Tanner.
Alright. Let's get the case screws out.
Wait, I thought
Those can go off to the side.
Wait,
I thought
I
you
heard
were
a good reason.
Oh.
Wait, he has people to defend. There are people way
It
more
has
than
been a
I
while.
do.
It would also help if you install the cost bracket.
I have made a
Mount tool.
realization. I did not switch them. I did
That would help. That would help a lot.
Wait.
that's.
Are you sure?
That's a little right field.
Because they were the closest to me.
There's a little out of right field though. That's getting confusing.
Well, yeah, how is your line?
Yeah.
Last time, that was his.
I mean, because anyone could.
Normally we do this prior to the stream, but
Yeah.
Yes.
I honestly forgot today.
They switched. They were.
And we were doing other things.
Took his card. Now.
Like installing
I
Phanteks.
don't know. It keeps like switching the story a lot.
Yeah.
That's a
If
little.
you want to vote me, I can win. What?
If you want to vote me, I can win.
Yeah.
That doesn't lose. If you're the troublemaker, if we vote you, you lose.
No, I'm the Tanner.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. And let me just double check the spacing because I think I'm off.
Robber.
I'm the troublemaker. I was the robber. I don't know what yours.
You're on strong of us.
You were super suspicious. You're either.
It's been so long since we touched an Intel system that I forgot how to install the brackets and
You're
everything.
probably a Tanner, but could be a werewolf. You're probably
This
a
is so
werewolf.
bad.
You're definitely a
Wait.
You're not your werewolf. You might be throwing heat off of somebody. Yes, exactly. You'd be throwing heat off of them and onto her or you. Or
You were the Tanner. That means he's the werewolf.
Not really.
yeah.
Because you don't remake the story like 3 times.
No,
That's a little confusing.
So Chris, what's new in the tech world? I have not been keeping up with it at all.
He's trying to point at 2 people.
there's a rumor that Durham Pro, that Durham
That's what a video
3000,
would do too.
non-pro and pro are going to be announced in August, possibly releasing in November, but it's a rumor, so it's not confirmed yet.
I
Other
honestly
Lake
thought
should be
that
coming
the
out
Tanner
still. I believe
was
it's still
going.
slated to come out in the fall, so
Because I
it
thought, like,
should
the audience
retake the
didn't
gaming
go
crowd
out.
for like a week. And it is also very powerful in multi-core compared to Risa.
Interesting.
But that's a like a fourth party bench test that wasn't funny, so
You may want to swap this back to the front cam. As I am now going to be doing power spot.
You were the Tanner, you could
you were good. You do more back, so turn it wrong way.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, the motherboard's fault. Like,
Okay. I never installed the motherboard.
oh,
Wouldn't make a lot of sense.
that's just on the motherboard wiggle.
And you're like, oh, and I was like, why are you ohing? It's been so so long since I built a computer, man.
You're right, Sam.
It's okay, nobody's watching, so we're good.
I'm the only person watching this thing.
There's like one person just like, oh my gosh. Hey, there we go. Now we actually have things screwed down. And that makes things a lot nicer.
I mean,
I've already made my decision. Whenever that timer's done, I'm going to because you're not Tanner. And if you're not Tanner, if you were Minion, you wouldn't have played Tanner. Like,
but minions, if they get voted off, the world will quit.
So, right, but you saying you're Tanner as a minion means they would never go unless it was worst possible minion.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh, we have to go for the Tanner one, alright, I'm just voting him.
I should have done the power supply before we jumped on stream. See, honest, I just realized that. Hey. Let's try that again.
So you would say that not having injury here hurts.
Not that it hurts, it's just more, I forget a lot of things that I haven't done in a while.
They're kind of like, they confirm each other.
I need an 8 and a 4.
Hey, we both follow each other's rules.
Or just get so annoyed of ungood ties that you just cut them off. It's just faster.
Oh my god.
Alright, this is a CPU as well.
What's wrong with you? They're both werewolves! And you're the Tanner, and you're the troublemaker.
There we go. I was like, wait a second, why does this not fit? I was trying to plug 4 and 5. And I always forget that these things are split for some reason. These are split into 2. And those plug into the motherboard, or the power supply.
Great, now I'm the minion, and I don't know who all the werewolves are. Yeah, I was like, you said you were the seer. She said she was the robber and stolen. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, what's the problem?
There we go. Alright. Quadro, luckily, has all the power pulls from the board, so we don't even have to worry about that. This case does not have any SATA power. SATA. Does not need SATA power. Is this system ever going to be upgraded? The graphics card?
Yes.
So will I need...
Run 2 individual 8-pins.
2?
He's probably gonna go with the 84,000, but I want to give him the juice for the 85 or the 86. So 2 separate 8-pins, and just put them down below.
Why 2 separate?
Because
Does it actually pull that much power?
Because the NVIDIA EPS connector for the GPU yes, is recommended to have 2 separate 8-pins. Because the A5000 is about a... What is the power rating?
I don't know, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, because I know the 3090 needs a 2.
So
The 3080 can get by with just 1.
So the Quadros draw less power than GeForce because they're using non-X.
That 1 should be fine.
So the NVIDIA connector, the power connector that comes with the new Pro cards,
It has 2.
But they need to be independent.
They do not. It's only on the 3090. The 3090 pulls so much wattage that under full load, it'll trip the breaker. I mean, I can. I'm just making a statement that, like, if it's not 3090 levels of power, this is, like, you'll never, ever trip that with 2, or with just 1. It's ran.
You add asked. I told you.
Yeah. You gave me the wrong answer. Gave me the answer of more cables, which is not good because that's more cables to like try to cable manage somewhere.
Just put it down below. It's fine.
There's no space down below because we have the hard drive bay. Which I'm honestly just leaving because,
Bad idea.
you know, yeah, hard drives are always later on then.
Good to have.
Absolutely. I'm gonna break into one of our screws over here. Yep. Power supply screws because I think they're in the box on the floor and I'm too lazy to get it.
So I'm seeing that Ryzen 5000 is actually all available now again.
Yep, I've noticed that.
Yep.
You know, so it's just graphics cards.
It's just it's like everything but a P1000, P2000, and a P2200, which is now end of life. Everything but those is either double MSRP or has like a 4-month lead time.
I think, unpopular opinion, and the next gen of CPUs are going to have the same issue. Same supply issue. Because the telecom industry just hit the wall of now they're running into the chip issue. So they just went through all of the backlog of everything.
I saw an article on Google News that car makers chip shortage that caused prices to soar maybe.
Yes. Maybe. The issue is it just hit the telecom industry and they just went through all of their existing stock that was already made. That being said, now they're going to flood the market looking for more stock of those chips. And thus put more stress on the industry, and then now you have, instead of the automakers, it's going to be the telecom industry putting the stress on the markets. So, yeah. That's a possibility.
So, on the Raleigh specs, just onto PC Mag, PL2 power levels for i9, i7, and i5. So PL1 is 125 watt, PL2 is 228.
Why, PL power levels?
Power level 2, yeah. So power level 2 is the faster one, and it's gonna suck up 220 watts.
That was a loud noise.
That's all.
Yeah, that is a fair amount. I mean, but again, that's what it's rated at. But is that the TEP or the actual? Because Intel's TEP is not actually accurate.
All that I'm seeing is PL2 equals 228.
Because you know how it is. Is there
They will be more efficient than 14 nanometer because it will be on 10 nanometer. Supporting both DDR5 and PCI 5.0.
Interesting. You said DDR5?
DDR5.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
I've seen some articles saying that Intel was going to leave it up to the motherboard manufacturers whether or not they do DDR4 or DDR5.
That makes sense. Because it just depends on what chips they put in, really. It's not going to be backwards compatible. You know, that's the thing, is once it's DDR4, it's DDR4 or nothing.
DDR5.
No, either or.
Oh.
You know, if they go DDR4, then only that motherboard can only support DDR4, which is going to be a pain in the butt for us. Because then it's like, oh, is this compatible? I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to require a lot more.
It's gonna pay. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot more like paying attention to specs than just like, oh, I like this motherboard. Great, bye. So that'll be interesting. One thing that I don't know if you saw, but the new Switch got announced.
I didn't see it.
Yep, a new Switch got announced, but all it was is just a new OLED screen.
What is it, cats?
Right.
That's it. My thing with it, my opinion on it, I think Nintendo is smart and they're not idiots. I think they wanted to release like a Switch 2 kind of thing that could dock up to like 4K, but there was no chips. So I think instead of kind of going through and kind of ticking a lot of people off with trying to release something that then just immediately goes out of stock, I think they waited. I think they are waiting until everything comes back in stock, because I know they're going to make a 4K Switch. They have to. You know, if they don't, then they're dumb, and Nintendo's not dumb. But the big thing with Nintendo is they keep their brand so like high tiered. You know, that's why Breath of the Wild is what, a 5-year-old game now, I think, and it's still selling for $50-ish, $60. There's no other company that can do that. So I think they're trying to release like a Switch Pro kind of thing, but they just didn't have the chip space for it, the fab space, because I think they use NVIDIA chips in their things. I think. I could be wrong on that one. It's either NVIDIA or AMD. And I do not think they had the space for it. Because Nintendo's been pretty good about, like, sure, their products will sell out fast, but they'll be back in stock on the shelves in what, like the week after? You know, like, you remember when the Switch actually launched? That thing was back in stock, you know, like crazy. It's just when the pandemic hit, they didn't have the manufacturing space because they didn't expect that it would take off like it did so late in its life cycle. Yeah, it's very interesting because you don't really realize how much of the world runs on these stupid silicon chips.
Literally everything.
Yeah, I mean literally everything. So I have just installed fans, RAM, CPU, storage, power supply, and some of the cables. So I'm going to go ahead and reintroduce the stream for you all. So this is rocket-powered Dirt. This is a system based around the i7-11700K. Their naming scheme needs to get a lot easier. Intel, please. This is a system. It is a workstation designed for AutoCAD, Risa, SAP 2000, and Trimble Business Center. I think I'm pronouncing Trimble right.
Yep.
I know what AutoCAD and Risa is. I do not know what SAP 2000 is. That sounds like a old Acura car, something that they would name a
SAP.
car.
Yeah, I think it's a.
Like, doesn't it sound like a car name? Ah, yes, it's the SAP 2000.
Enterprise resource planning software.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's. I don't know a better way to say that.
Sorry, you want to swap to top cam, and I can actually show cable management for the first time in like ever. So this is what it starts off as. This one's not bad by any means.
Can you move it? No, there you go.
Yeah. This one's not bad by any means. So what I like to do is I will start up here. So this is kind of shifted a little bit. So this is the top going that way. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. So I will usually tie down, the very first one is, I like doing the CPU cooler, or the CPU power cables. The only reason I like that is because these are usually the only cables up here, and if you can get this kind of managed a little bit, it makes this a little bit easier too. So in this instance, I'm just going to tie down this top one, pull it in kind of tight. And these are like one of the greatest tools ever. They're little snips. At least when you're dealing with the zip ties, because you can get in and then get close. Create a nice snip, even though I used the wrong side of it. So there we go. Then it creates a nice little edge. And then with this, usually you can get it pretty good, where you can just kind of put it up underneath here.
There's nothing I can do. Audio is hosed. We have one person watching the stream, and that's me.
I was gonna say, are you three people?
We have one person, and it's me.
So it's okay.
Yes, so.
It's fine.
So maybe
Next stream,
it's an
no
Easter
party.
egg for the people who watch afterwards.
Exactly.
They're like, what's going on off camera?
Oh, I just said it was construction noise, and then extra music as well.
What's going on off camera? Ooh. I'm just stealing Chris's stuff. Just stealing Chris's stuff. Hey, that might get you like three more views. I don't know.
Exactly.
That was the guy that I rent from. Next stream should be more quiet. We'll see.
It's all good.
I mean, I've heard of it.
It's actually really not. It's not that bad, really. The audio. You can hear it, but it's not like it's.
When you crank it up, it's about the same level. You would think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. So, like I said, you know, cleaning this area up makes it look nice. You can always run it down over here. In this instance, there's not a really great place to store this audio cable. I'm going to kind of take it up. And lay this down. And I'm actually going to hide this cable under. Makes it look nice. Cool. Now we're going to rotate it again. Top side this way. With me. That way. I'm actually going to do it the other way. Top side's that way now. It does not get super uber confusing of everything. I'm going to go through and undo these. So with this, I'm just kind of strategically using these to pin down some cables and such.
I'm gonna pass this around in the chance that somebody at the table is versatile, more good at Oberon or Morgana and doesn't know what the hell they're doing. So if you're one of those, just look at it or pass it on.
Then you can basically do that.
Or just look at it to cause chaos.
And with this, I'm actually just going to tie these down, make it nice and purdy looking. And just trying to kind of take advantage of all the cable tie down points in this case, which is one of the great parts about this case.
That's why we so much.
Basically. Yeah, cable management is easy. So this is
It's also cheap and light. Jared! What's up, man?
I'm gonna toss this up in here. I'm just tossing the 24 pin on in. That way I can kind of pull back the slack and go ahead and figure that out. Because one of the worst parts is when you go through, you cable manage, and then you have not enough slack to plug something in, then you have to undo all the cable fixture. Quite aggravating.
Everyone close your eyes. Do I close my eyes as well?
I think you probably should, yeah.
Hopefully we can get the 24 pin actually up underneath here and to lay flat, because that's always the issue with this case, is the side panel is not. it lays just kind of right here. So if you have any cable bulk here, it gets kind of hard to latch it on down.
Bad guys open eyes. Bad guys close eyes.
So, still not great. That side's up now.
You got it, you do it. What? All layers should now have your eyes closed this time. Minions of Mordred, extend your thumb so that Merlin will know. Merlin, open your eyes.
Cool. So these are the extra power cables that we have just plugged in here for the future potential graphics card, if it ever gets released. Or no, not that
It's not available.
if it ever becomes available.
Like, NVIDIA is swamped.
So I'm just gonna pull, like, kind of stuff these up down in here and make it in a place that's easily accessible, so that the client in the future, if it's needed, it's all right here.
Easy.
Yep. And then I'm just gonna do hopefully one zip tie, probably gonna need two.
No, I mean, is Mordred a character?
I was able to just get one. And this one I'm not going to secure down, like actually tie it down. That way it's just easier to grab in the future.
Alright,
if needed.
go back to closing your eyes and have your fist in front of you.
And
Merlin and Morgana,
with that,
extend your
we have
thumb
cable
to the
management
first oval
is done.
First,
Sand this
open your
up.
eyes and look for more Merlin.
Cool, cool. Alright. So now, the CPU here is going to be fun.
First, close your eyes.
This one has the secret tunnels on it, so
Hands in front.
makes it nice. Oh, we'll do a nice little peel here.
Everyone open your eyes.
Yeah, and then this is very shiny. Like, Be Quiet does an amazing job of making their things like perfectly mirrored. Alright. Their thermal paste tube that has literally no thermal paste in it. Hey, this one actually has enough. For the most part, when you get a Be Quiet thing, you can either get like exactly enough, or just a little bit too much, or not enough. And it usually errs on the side of not enough more often than not, which is kind of annoying. And then one of the things that we have learned installing this, obviously number one, these are our fake heat pipes, which actually give you being able to put a screwdriver all the way down through here. This is why we like the Be Quiet stuff, because they also include a very long, nice screwdriver to be able to put those screws in. But the pro tip that we have learned is, since you cannot put the screws through those holes, you put the screws already in here, which is your mounting bracket. Then, when you flip this over, which I'm going to try to do while showing you guys. So when you flip this over and get it all kind of positioned the way that you want it to, you then slide your bracket in. And there you go. So now the screws, which you guys probably might be able to see, are just inside. Yeah, you probably can be front cam. The screws here, right there, and they line up with the They don't line up with the thing because I installed the mount for this going vertical like this, which would still work, but it's not the most optimal.
So now you have to move it out?
No, I just gotta unscrew 4 screws. So. I forgot that Intel bracket's square. AMD's is not. AMD's is rectangular, so it's very easy because they're always already directioned and all of that normaled. In this instance, it's not.
Are you playing?
I'm also a character. I'm also a character, yes. We are both.
So So with this, we're actually almost done, because once we get this in, we have the graphics card, which is not going to take very long to install at all. And that's actually it. It'll just be plugging in the few cables, being the 2 fan cables for the CPU cooler, and plugging in our graphics card, which is going to be super easy. I say now, and then graphics card's going to be like a pain in the butt and not line up with any of the things. Knowing our luck.
It would be. On a relatively cheap card, it's going to be a pain in the neck.
Alright, there we go. Now, let's try this all again. And we put this in here, flip in, there we go. Boom. Unfortunately, I can't really show you guys this because it's a very tight kind of angle. But you only screwed in just enough to get it started. And then, since this is a 2-screw mount, you want to make sure that you're not screwing one side. Are you on top cam or front cam?
Top cam.
Top cam. Alright, so you want to make sure that's not you kind of wonk-eyed one direction, because you want an equal pressure. Very similar to how we do like the star pattern on everything else, but in this instance it's just the kind of back and forth pattern. And with the Be Quiet ones, there is no spring to compress. So with these, usually the best word of advice is basically tighten them until you can't tighten them anymore, but don't wrench it down. You want it snug, but you don't want it like cranked. There we go. So let's go install the other fan, which is going to be the second pain in the butt on this system. Because these fans, Be Quiet has a good job on everything else except their mounting hardware for their fans. Is very, very aggravating. It's all based on the tension. And those are the panels. That's fine. There it goes. Alright, now let's try to get this in and flipped on it. And cool. My watch almost got stuck. I've had that day. This one is the one that I was like low-key worried about. I'm just gonna hoping I get lucky. I got lucky on the bottom. Okay, got lucky on the top. Yes! That was actually the easiest I've ever gotten that one in. And then you screw these back in for the aesthetics. Isn't this a little bit of an overkill cooler for the CPU?
It does run hot, but I mean, the non-pro is like $75 and the pro is $90.
Oh no, like I understand. I'm just saying it is a little bit of an overkill.
It is. But can we be quiet?
Yeah, I can. Oh, there we go. Now I had to do the article stand of standing in front of the camera, but I'm sorry. Again, dust filter goes back on. While it's sitting here, I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's the second one. As I drop the screw. As I drop the screw. As I drop the screw. There we go.
Yeah.
Pop that out. Push that one down. We'll try to do a nice peel on this.
Well.
That one actually was nice.
It's also very loud.
So good. Hard to click. Such a tiny video card for the system. You have such a big chonk CPU cooler. Just have this very tiny little graphics card. So, toss on the front panel. Are we on front cam?
Yes.
We are now. So magnetic one there, and then pop this one on here. Boom. We'll hold off on the back panel and the front panel.
Well, a careful eye on it.
Because I think it's superstitious to put it all on before the system boots. Speak of that, we're now going to plug this in and cross our fingers.
Hope to God that no wires or any fans.
Yeah, couldn't be, but. Alright, no lights on the motherboard, which I don't think there are any on this one. We have spins.
There's a little, I thought there's a little LED. There's some lights.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying like when you just plug it in.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a little boot thing down there.
yeah.
So I'm just gonna wait and kind of hope. I do not have a great angle on it. But the fan's lulled back down. I'm gonna jump in front of the camera here. VGA. So it's memory training, which is a good sign. You put these like the office plastic rollers down, but you left this like awkward middle space in the middle of them.
I mean, we can move it over, but
I know. Well, the chair just keeps getting caught on it.
well, generally there's two people, and
I know.
there's no person where
I
you
know.
are.
Normally it's fine, but still sitting on VGA.
Fail 3, or, you know, if we are failed, the one team is,
I know, I'm playing. I'm trying to get the pizza and my phone. My phone's fucking dying.
yeah, it wouldn't matter. It was only 3.
And we're still sitting on VGA. What do you think the odds of this video card being dead are?
Oh,
It's on
is it a P 2200 or a P 2?
reject votes.
Yep. So we're still, I mean, it still could be a boot. I wasn't paying dead attention to it. Sorry, I'm gonna move this a little bit more so I can actually see it, and I'm just gonna watch all the lights because it could just be because there's no video source plugged into it.
That's possible.
Oh, that's successful. Yeah, right here.
What is my return policy? To August 5th. If it's defective, you could still return. Just good. Okay.
This would be 2 builds in a row that we had issues. Alright, still having issues with it. So we'll do a basic quick diagnosis.
We'll do a check.
Nothing crazy, but let me just try to, I'm literally just gonna uninstall the graphics card and reinstall.
Well, he's no longer in front. So it is in your preference.
Wait,
It's where you move your way up to the ladder. You're good at it, though. So you move up and get better.
Like pushing in the little retention thingy is like very hard on this. There it goes.
Yes. We're free of corruption.
Wait, no, you. I'm still voting, so.
Okay. No, dictatorship.
No, you flip all.
Yeah, all of them.
Alright, let's try this Uno Mas time. If this doesn't, then we'll do a dive into it afterwards.
Off camera test.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Could be.
Boom.
I guess so. Yeah.
So maybe he
All I know is that I'm gonna
except for the bad guys.
Maybe.
But with that, like, when you want one of them,
All right. Well, we're sitting on a VGA boot, which again could mean that it's actually just not. It doesn't have an outsource plugged in.
Waiting at the BIOS.
Could very well be. I'm going to quickly Google this just to make sure, just for a sanity's check.
It's a. I'm actually waiting to like. Boot.
It is a boot.
No, I'm just
Oh.
reading what I see on the screen. Never mind. No, I am waiting. Don't let me.
Yep, it's a connection to the monitor.
Wait, so it's
And
not
there
a
is
dead
none.
It's not a dead Quadro.
Well, we don't fully know that, but
Well,
odds are it's probably not. And it's the very easiest thing to swap out because it's one screw and you pull it. So, everyone, thank you for joining us all for this Friday afternoon live stream. Finished up before 7. Awesome, awesome. And we hope to see you guys next time for. I don't think we have. Yeah, I don't think we have it scheduled yet, do we?
we don't. But
Sometime
it's coming
soon, TM. There'll be another build coming, so we will see you then. Goodbye.